plaintiff, Kiana Hoyt, says the defendant is her mother. And when Kiana was 2, the defendant left her to live with her grandmother so she could prostitute herself, use drugs, and date abusive men. Kiana is suing her mother today for emotional distress. Defendant Mandy says after her mother forced her to sign over parental rights, she started prostituting and stripping to pay child support. Mandy claims she ended up losing custody of all 6 of her children, but insists she's gotten her life back on track.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
All right. Manny is my biological mother. Growing up, she was more of an acquaintance or a friend to me. At the age of 2, she dropped me off at my grandparents' house so she could go do her own thing, as in drugs and selling herself, or going and hanging out with abusive and drug-head men.
What type of drugs?
Cocaine, that I know of. Growing up at my grandma's house, she was a very unfunctional drunk. So growing up, my grandma.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Still is, sadly. Growing up, I not only had to take care of her, I had to take care of myself, which meant that I had to teach myself how to do adult-y things and second-guessing myself because I didn't know if I was correct or not, because if I had to ask my grandma, she was too drunk to know, and my mom was somewhere else doing her own thing, not in town.
How long did you stay with your mom if you look back at your childhood?
It was really spotty growing up. Sometimes she would come stay if she didn't have a house, or she would just come visit sometimes, or stay the weekend or the week and come help out or cook or whatnot. So there's really not a good time period.
How'd you do in school?
I didn't do very well my freshman year, but I got into this online program to where I could get additional help, and that helped me. I graduated a week early.
High school?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Thanks.
Good. And you did that, no doubt, without any help. Good.
Thanks.
You've been involved in drugs, alcohol addiction of any type?
The drug I do, I don't consider a drug. So.
What's that?
Weed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like alcohol now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Smoke it when you're an adult. Don't smoke while you drive.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't drive, so I don't have that problem.
And don't overdo it so that
Pretty
you're not
much.
an addict. All right. Let me hear from you, ma'am. You want to give me some background?
When Kiana was 2, my house was broken into, and her grandmother only wanted to take her being a white's grandchild, my other daughter being biracial, Mexican and white. When I had Kiana, I was really, really young. My mom was a drunk my whole entire life as well, so therefore she wasn't very supportive of me. At the age of 12 years old, she kind of dropped me off at a family member's house and never came back because it was the hood or the ghetto, and she's racist. So I bounced back and forth between my mother's house as well as the streets.
You went over your mother's on your own?
Basically because she needed my assistance with oddball things. I'd borrow money and she would want me to pay it back.
I know you said she never came back, so you must have went to her.
Right, exactly.
Okay. What type of assistance did you provide?
To take care of her property. You know, she didn't do very much around the house, so therefore dishes, laundry, cleaning, organizing.
And then were you a crackhead at any point?
Once I left my mother after she basically forced me to sign over my rights of Kiana.
Why do you think she did that?
Well, because where I was living was the projects of Monroe, Michigan, and therefore she felt it was unsafe living arrangements for Kiana. Okay. I was not a drug addict then.
And the court allowed that?
We actually never went to court.
Oh, so you didn't fight it?
No, I didn't fight it because I was
you
naive
wanted
enough.
to then. Okay.
I did, correct.
When did you get on drugs? What age were you hooked on crack?
2000, well, I was probably 13, 14 years old.
All right, and when was she born?
18.
All right, so she was born with crack in her system, no doubt?
No.
Oh, you stopped during those 9 months?
Yes.
You stopped for 9 whole months, and then you went back? Particularly you got a baby right here. Right. Be different if you're out and nowhere to live and nowhere to be and everybody's
I didn't start
climbing.
using drugs again until she was taken with my mother.
You blaming your mother again. The racist. All right. So you started smoking again because your mother took her for whatever reason. And then what?
I resorted to stripping, prostitution, to provide for my child support that my mother was demanding. And therefore, I lost custody of the other children that I had and fought for 3 years in order to get my kids back.
How many, ma'am? How many children did you lose?
6.
Wow.
At what age?
23.
Had 6 children at 23 and lost them all. Due to your drug addiction? Or was it failure to pay child support? You're going to tell me some nonsense talking about you out here prostituting to help pay child support and you're a crackhead. All you were doing is prostituting to smoke crack.
That's
and
not
lose
true,
your
Your Honor.
6 children. Don't come in here talking nonsense to me. Thank God you made it all right. Do you know what happened to your other 5 siblings?
I know some.
Are they
They're great.
productive?
Yes, very.
Okay, and they were taken care of in foster homes?
Very much so.
All right. Go ahead, man. What are you suing her about?
Emotional distress.
How so?
Growing up as a child, she wasn't really there for me. She never really came to any of my after-school activities in elementary school or middle school or high school. I think really the only after-school activity she came to as a kid was my graduation. Kind of made me second-guess myself a lot, made me very self-conscious because I felt like I was being put second compared to men and drugs. So, yeah.
And how did you all resume your relationship?
At the age of 13-ish, around that age, she came back into my life, bribing me with, like, feminine products or clothes, when at the age of 13, I still wanted to be a kid since I was growing up so fast. I really just wanted toys to go play with outside or with my other friends before I was forced to be an actual grown-up.
So you all stayed in contact, obviously, since you've been 13. How old are you now?
I'm 18.
All right. And you all have been in contact how often? Since 13?
Depends on the situation and how she was doing. It kind of varied with weeks and months and other time periods.
And when was the last time you all had a consistent relationship?
I want to say about 15.
At age 15?
Yeah.
From 15 to 18, what's been happening?
She's been sober and she's been clean. She hasn't been selling herself or doing drugs. She's just been messing around with abusive men and bringing me around them abusive men.
The unfortunate part of it is, ma'am, there's no claim for being a bad mother. There's no law that allows you to collect on being a bad mother. You and your family weren't the only ones victimized by the crack epidemic. No. And see, had they done something about the crack epidemic like they are doing so much to reduce the opioid epidemic, maybe you wouldn't have had to go through all this because she wouldn't have been that way. The only thing that concerns me is that when a recovering crack addict gets clean, all of a sudden they're righteous and act like nothing has happened. I'm good. They start crying like you're doing something to them when you raise the issue of how they've damaged others. They just think they can come back and everybody's going to welcome them back and say, here, take another TV. Take another this. No. Where's my television? You clean? Good. Where's my child support? Because I want to go to college. Since you're so clean, let's make up for that. Since you're so clean, go mentor some of these young ladies who are out here being affected by crack and seeing the bad example. Go back to the stroll where the prostitutes are and help get them off of that. You do that? Maybe you do. Nope.
I do actually go to school online to get my CDCA.
Seeing others, for others.
Yes, I do talk to others a lot.
Tell me how. When? What?
When I go to my IOP groups, I pretty much do all of the talking.
What's the
Intensive
IOP?
outpatient.
Okay, like NA?
Similar, but
Did you go to NA and
it's an outpatient
in
program.
conjunction with it, though?
Yes, correct.
How long have you been doing that?
For 5 years.
All right, well, you sound like you're in recovery with the exception of making up for all the damage you've done. NA says one of the main things, repair the damage you've done. And I don't know why many drug addicts, recovering addicts, they just miss that part.
Yeah.
They miss that. What's wrong with my daughter? What's wrong with my son? Like something just all of a sudden is bad about them. No, they haven't been raised right. They were abandoned. That's what's wrong with them. And then you just point the finger, instead of getting involved with their lives. You all have a close relationship?
We're having a close relationship now.
We're having one since when?
Since I was 16-ish. Like I said, we're still working
All
on
right,
it. There's
so
still
tell me-
problems that we have to work on, but it's
about what?
better. The abusive boyfriends that she's had in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's her problem. Why is it
It is,
yours?
but it's also my problem when those men threaten me and to threaten to kill me and to kill the people that I love.
Well, then
in
it's
front
the
of me.
police's problem.
We've tried police.
I'm tired of
She
you.
always goes back.
You've had enough of her problems. That's what I'm getting to.
Yes,
You've
you're
had
right,
enough
yeah.
of her problems throughout your 18 years. Let
Yes.
those problems be her problems.
I've
If
cut her
the
off
two of
once.
you have some problems, then go to counseling. That's repairing what has been done, the damage that has been done. So that's my advice. And I've seen this 1,000 times. This isn't my first time, my first rodeo. I've seen thousands, literally, of drug addicts who go into recovery, and then when you mention the damage they've done, they start crying like they're the victims. No, you're going to hear this damage. You're going to hear what you did to your children. You're going to hear what they had to suffer through. You're going to hear me ask you, were you really selling your body to provide child support as a crackhead? You say, let me get a little crack. Let me see. Get some money, come from the stroll. Put that aside. 200 there. 200 there. Child support. Crack. That's what you want me to believe, ma'am. So 3,000 I can't grant you, ma'am, because there's no judgment allowed for bad parenting or being abandoned by your parent. I'm not sure you could sue for child support on behalf of your grandmother. Because that's who was to receive the money to care for you as a minor. Is she still alive? I didn't
Yes,
hear.
sir.
Well, okay, well, you tell her to get on down to child support court. Y'all can cut that money in half. Y'all can split that money up.
Yeah, you're right.
Mama been doing fine for 5 years.
Yeah.
She pay her child support. She believe in that.
Oh, yeah.
And if she don't have enough based on what the court orders, she know. Never mind. Have a good day.
I'm sure we're still going to continuously work on it, try to fix the problem, possibly go to the court for my grandma and try to get some money for me.
I love my daughter. That's all that matters.
I love you too.